Hello, and a very warm welcome to all of you on this episode of the Pep Talk with me, Sudeep Nag. So, in this demo video on corporate training workshop, particularly, I'm going to talk about bridging the generation gap at workplace. You know that this topic today is very relevant, and it is very apt that I discuss on my final Pep Talk video of this series. So today we'll understand what is this generation gap, working in diverse team. So teamwork today doesn't only mean about working in team dynamics and team fitness and team formation. It has to include the aspect of generation gap, because only then you will be able to lead multi generation teams, which is a practical thing. And particularly for managers of various sectors, whether it is hospitality, IT, manufacturing, FMCG, sales, every sector. So what do we mean by generation gap? So is it that there is a generation apart and there is really something alien to each other? No. What we actually mean is generation gap is nothing but a difference in reference point, not ability. This is important for both to understand. I repeat, not ability. It is the difference in attitude, communication style, expectation that comes from growing up in different economic eras, technological eras, different historic eras. So if you go back to the 80s, then 90s, 2000, 2010s, 2020s, and currently, things are different. Would you not agree with me? So a 24-year-old today, when he or she is asking why, isn't less committed. So a 24-year-old asking why isn't less committed. A 45-year-old wanting a plan isn't resisting to change. So that means that today's generation will ask every time why, and that's quite normal. And, the other generations, they will want a plan in front of them. Then what's the agenda? So there is this gap, which is visible, and I'm sure you will agree. So now every generation, thinks that it has invented hard work, the best way to work, etc. And honestly, every generation is partly correct, because the difficulties and the situations that shapes today's and yesterday's workforces and times are different. So we definitely apply our logics, our so-called reference frames, and then we back that. So that is the only difference. So what do I actually mean by generation gaps and different generations? So let's call this as baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. So what was the USP at that time? Loyalty and structure. That really was one of the symbolism at that time. Then came Generation X, 1965 to 1980s. That symbolizes independence and balance. And millennials, 1981 to 1996, purpose and feedback. And Generation Z, Gen Z, is 97 to 2012. That means speed and flexibility. That's the symbolic of style of that generation. So why teams feel this most important? Because fast moving technology is real. You know very well, before 20, 30 years, what was the role of computers? What was the role of softwares? What is the role of telecom? Today, how it has evolved, and what is now the role of AI? We are talking about robotics, we are talking about drone technology. So isn't something that was out of science fiction at that time. Agile cross-functional teams. So people are working from home, people are working from office, shift timings are different. So this is very agile, high mobility and attrition. So today you see, previously you would get a job, you would stick to it really well. Today there are jobs available, so people like to move quickly, people want to grow quickly, they want to see other opportunities. Open on hybrid culture, as I already mentioned. that even virtual work is very important, and virtual teams along with teams face to face in the office are all integrated. So where's the difference showing up? So let's understand. In communication, there are some differences that are showing up. So different generations have different gaps, prefer phones, telephone calls, face to face. That's the boomers. Generation X, comfortable with emails, SMS, etc. Millennials leans towards chat and video chats and all that. And today it's like quick text and voice messages and emojis and GIFs. It's really communicates a lot. Other generation may feel that what is this? And I don't understand. And similarly, they don't get the fun on the call and face to face. So feedback and recognition. Boomers annual reviews is enough recognition. So it was not really that important for them. Its work itself was that important. That Generation X, give it to me straight, tell me straight, in private, not in public. Millennials want frequent check-ins and visible appreciation. They want that appreciation to be done in public, say employee of the month and etc., like that. Now Gen Z, they expect real-time feedback and public acknowledgement, maybe a video. So that really is a kick for them. So this changes. Some people would say at that time, I don't want to say others that I'm promoted. Today, people would like to say. Again, we can't stereotype anybody. There could be people now who are having the values that were there before, and the people or the other generation at that time could be having the values that I'm talking about of today's generation. Work-life balance and flexibility. Boomers, that hours of work and etc., commitment and etc., going to office, coming back. It was a different traffic scenario, different geographical scenario, travel scenario, etc. Generation X value autonomy. So they would say that I will get it done on my end. So millennials want flexibility, but also clear boundaries. They would set boundaries, and Gen Z prioritizes well-being, flexibility as a baseline, not a part. So they want to be happy. So happiness index for them is important. What we never discussed before. Technology and tools mindset. Boomers value proven tools, technology slowly going forward. Okay, Gen X adopts new tools where business cases are clear. So again, the planned way. Millennials, they could train themselves before in hand because they know things are changing. And Gen Z assume that the newest tool by default. So they try out new things. They're impatient that this is something new. Let me try out. They're real innovators. So hierarchy and decision making. Boomers respect formal chair of command. So they would be this structure of command, like those colonial times. So they were used to that. Gen X, comfortable questioning, some questions, some doubt clearing with hesitation. And millennials prefer flat structure, wants a voice in the decision. They want to be a part of it. And Gen Z expect inputs regardless of tenure. Even if they're new, they want to say something. They're full of ideas. So they can question the hierarchy also. They will not hesitate. Career growth. Boomers view career as long, steady climb with one organization. Stick to one organization. That would be, why did you change? Gen X builds a portfolio skills, they could slowly move on to a next level, next company. Millennials want a visible growth plan, otherwise they think differently. The Gen Z plan for multiple roles, so they can multitask, and they would change employers, and they want to grow and grow, regardless of the tenure. Youth versus experience. Youth brings in fresh ideas, fresh eyes. You're comfortable with new tools, energy, enthusiasm, urgency, appetite to grow, willingness to take up challenges, and experience bring knowledge as to be shared the way they existed before, and wait to now. And judgment was very good, so they bring in very good judgment. They have patience. They bring in patience, sequencing, discipline, and stakeholder awareness, etc. The challenges for both chairs. This is a very, very important slide. Managers and leaders and HODs. Authority without old anchors. So new joinees expect credibility earned through clarity and competence every day. So you have to prove to them. It's important. So they would not assume that just because you are experienced, they will say, okay. They can question. Caught between two pressures. So leadership wants faster delivery, new employees push for autonomy. No time to translate. So this why question that they need to translate, they don't really consider all the time, and that would cause an issue. And new generation confidence without context. So sometimes it can be they are so skilled, so talented, but they don't have the ability to understand what if the decision backfires. Why at for speed? So this is like taken for granted that I have to do it fast. So if not, they get impatient or they feel ignored, and that really could feel bad if they're ignored. Their voice is to be heard. Today, empathy and emotional quotient is required much more than before. Purpose before process. Asking why is not defiance. It's how the motivation for them builds. So how to walk together? This is the question. The senior people, you know, how they can work and the new joinees, the younger generation. So let's see, why does every decision need a poll? So because they assume that I have experience, so I don't need to ask. I earned my say through years of delivery. Why he wants it so fast? So these are the real things that we have to really, really be sensitive to. Constant tool switching, it's not good. Let's stick to one thing. So changes could be resisted a little bit, make it uncomfortable. New generation, why can't we try something new all the time? But they also have to think that we are working together as a unit. We have to work together. So even for them to understand how to work in a teams which have multi generations, I want to contribute ideas. So if the idea is not taken, then what? So you have to build your credibility. You have to prove. The long meetings without a shared document feels like wasted time. So they want quick fix. So the five pillar framework, two-way mentoring. So senior mentor the youngsters, we know that reverse mentoring is today's need. So this word reverse mentoring is very important. So please, it's one of the most important thing. Explain the why every time. Put in the why when you are a senior trying to work with the newcomers. Shorten the feedback loop, but be frequent. Co-create the workplace. This is for both. Co-create. This is another important point. So what you co-create, you have that. So psychological safety as a rule. So we need to understand the limits that we can go to. So some do's and don'ts. Do's for managers, explain the reason, not just give the instruction. They don't like orders, even though they are young. So for the new joinees, uh, what would be the do's and don'ts? Ask why and what we have tried before. So logical understanding is important. So do's for the seniors, give credit publicly when a newcomer idea is used. So make sure they're not just taken the idea and they're not names are not mentioned. Assume for the newcomers now, assume competence behind a seniors. So acknowledge that the person knows something. So don'ts for the managers and leaders. Don't say that let's just keep quiet and don't talk. Don't say talk much just because we were not allowed. And challenging the authority, it's not done. So these are the don'ts. This is okay now. This is okay. So don'ts for the newcomers is ready read every no. So if you are not heard, not respected, it's not that you are not good or you're not respected. It's just that you have to earn that respect. And assume hierarchy exists only to slow you down. So don't think that way. Nobody is slowing nobody down. It's again co-creating experience and youth together. Cost of unbridging, it can pay a heavy cost for the organization it is, whichever sector it is. Slower decisions, it could happen because of this gap, generation gap. Higher attrition, both sides. Communication breakdown, ultimately customers and other people, stakeholders suffer, company don't progress, and slower knowledge transfer. So I hope that all of you would watch this video because this is a very important video. And I know that many of the leaders and the newcomers will find it very much related with what you are doing day to day. Thank you very much once again for watching this episode. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And let's hope that we'll build a culture that every generation thrives, keeping the happiness index and also co create together the good times. Bye.